Hello, my name is Ross and I'm a Community and Nature Engagement Officer. I am working within the idverde in the RSPB partnership, and we're working in this area to increase the amount of viable habitat in urban spaces for wildlife. I would like to take the next 15 minutes to present to you an idea for helping one of those particular species, which is an RSPB priority, and that is a swift. So could you become one of our churches for swifts? We need to find suitable nest sites to install brand new nesting boxes for swifts so they can breed successfully after they return to the UK each summer. Swifts have suffered a 58% decline in 25 years. And there's many reasons for that, for which we'll come on to shortly. But we're seeking new community partners to support our ambitions in this area. So, can you help? Could you become one of our churches for swifts? So why have swifts declined 58% in recent years? Well, one of the big problems is the expansion and modernisation of our towns and cities. So nearly all swifts nest in pre-1945 buildings. That's buildings built before the end of the Second World War. Since then, modernisation in techniques and materials has led to what we have now: steel, glass and metal structures. Unfortunately, our buildings have been modernised and swifts have been left behind. Our buildings should be modernised. We have to deal with climate change and we need to make our buildings more carbon efficient. But we shouldn't leave swifts behind in this, and we should provide something in its place to help swifts breed successfully so we can continue enjoying this wonderful bird for generations to come. Unfortunately, an increase in pesticides over the last half a century has also led to a lack of food sources, or a reduction in food sources for swifts and their young while they're here in the UK. There's also the problem of old buildings being destroyed or taken down or replaced. So imagine a scenario of being a swift and you've been nesting in the same building for 10 years or more, and the colony has been built up, but then one season you're flying back from Africa to the UK, you think you're going to go back to your old nesting site to start a family, but when you get there, the building's not even there. It's been modernised or flattened for housing or new infrastructure. The swifts are only in the UK for 3 months a year, so that leaves them very little time indeed to find somewhere new to build a nest, to build a viable home, to raise a family. And that's why we're seeing this big decline in swift numbers. They're not getting here, they're not finding the source of food they need to get here, they're not finding the source of food they need to feed their young, and they're certainly not finding their nesting sites that they need. So that's why we're asking if you could become one of our churches for swifts. So what we do is, we fit in swift nesting boxes into church belfries, and this replicates swift's natural preferences for height and seclusion. There are about 16,000 churches and chapels in England, and many of them have a suitable belfry. So this could all significantly reduce swift declines if we all work together and even just a fraction of those churches were utilised for their nesting capabilities. So nest boxes in churches have already proved to be highly successful, and across the UK, in many examples, it's resulted in substantial new colonies being formed. So church belfries are high and they're out of the way, and they replicate what swifts used to use before they decided to live with humans. That was cliffs, rocks, old trees, and places where they could get into, holes, nooks and crannies. They found that in our buildings. Our buildings have been modernised and they simply have not kept up. The louvres in front of the nest boxes in these church buildings provide a seclusion swifts prefer as well. They don't want to be intruded on by predators. They don't want to be spied upon by the humans. They want seclusion. They want to be in their nesting boxes, raising a family in seclusion. So being 20 metres up in the sky in a church belfry is absolutely perfect for these guys. So when we come and visit the church, we make assessments whether it's viable. And if you want to go ahead and install Swift boxes in your church, we can design these boxes from many designs we have to fit them almost custom built to your church, to your louvres, to your windows. They're installed sympathetically to the structure. There's no drilling, there's no hole making, there's no hammers, there's no horrible DIY projects going on here. They're fitted sympathetically by the use of tension bars, which are placed across the window with a piece of wood on each end to stop them going into the brickwork. Those bars are then tensioned and the Swift boxes are installed onto them, so the holes are outwards over the louvres. Or sometimes some of these windows have metal grids to stop wildlife getting in. If we can cut a hole in one of those grids the size of the nest box hole and then place the nest box over that hole, we then tie them to the metal grid, and that provides a safe and secure and sealed nesting site. Nothing else can get past the nest boxes into the church belfry. And because the boxes are sealed themselves, the Swifts can't get any further, so they can't get into the belfry either. They simply use the nest boxes and the height of the tower. It's important to note here as well that Swifts make very little or no mess at all. There is no whitewash down the side of the building, and there is no droppings because the Swifts actually eat their own droppings to clear up after themselves. So Swifts really are one of the cleanest migratory species of bird we have in the UK, and compared to house sparrows or starlings, these guys really are pretty clean. So that is how we can help Swifts, installing these nest boxes custom made to your church tower, to your louvres, to your windows, and sympathetically installing them so no damage is caused to the church whatsoever. So why should we help Swifts? Well, they've recently been recorded of flying at 69.3 miles an hour, which is pretty fast. And the aerodynamic and aerobatical prowess of these birds is something to behold. I mean, they can be flying in one direction 1 minute at 60 miles an hour, and then suddenly change direction to go into another direction. There must be unbelievable G-forces on these little creatures, but they overcome it, and they're absolute masters of the sky. They're an absolute joy to watch. They also fly at staggering altitudes as well. I mean, the UK Swift that come here have to fly over the Pyrenees. Most of them fly over there. This is a substantial mountain range, but to other areas of Europe, when Swifts migrate, they actually have to cross the Himalayas, which is over 18,000 feet in parts. And, you know, when they weigh less than 40 grams, less than a Cadbury's cream egg, that is some sort of feat to do in one migration. They also provide a connection to the natural world for people and a deeper understanding of the ways in which the natural world works, especially around education and young people. It's really important that kids see the possibilities in nature and, you know, inspiration from nature. But these little fellas do a 6,000-mile round trip from Africa and back, and that's a real eye-opener for young people. It gives us a sense of achievement, and it gives us a sense of inspiration, and we should all take inspiration from the natural world. We should also help these little fellas because they are constantly on the wing. They eat, feed, drink, mate, sleep on the wing, only landing to breed. So they spend over 90% of their life just flying around. So they have to have a lot of food. So they don't really need their time taken up looking for somewhere to nest. That's a hell of a lot of energy expelled. They need to be constantly feeding. You know, in one go they can catch over 300 insects into a pellet called a bolus, which is regurgitated and fed to their chicks, and they can catch over 5,000 insects per day. So if they can't find the perfect nesting habitat and they can't find the food, then this is why we're leading to a 58% decline in Swift numbers in the last 25 years. So they need help. on both sides, nesting and feeding. That's why churchyards are absolutely essential, because the church tower gives them the height and the seclusion behind the louvres, and the cemeteries around churchyards are also full of grasses and trees and bushes, and because they're old and have been untouched, a big habitat for insects to go airborne. Your flying spiders, your flies, all sorts of flying invertebrates that go up into the atmosphere in that area and are caught by swifts. So we should help swifts, absolutely essential. They are part of our folklore and they're great birds to watch, and we should protect them for future generations so everyone can enjoy these iconic species of our British summer. So 3 frequently asked questions. Do we need to attract the swifts to the boxes? Yes. A small battery-powered or solar-powered swift caller could be available, which plays in the mornings and in the evenings. It's no louder than a mobile phone going off, really, so you don't really get any complaints from neighbours because they can't hear it. But because it's up in the sky at 15 to 20 metres, swifts can hear it, and it attracts them in because they think it's a colony in use. So swift callers are pretty much an essential part of this project. Do swifts cause a mess in the roof? No, because swifts can't get into the roof. They're only going as far as the box. So when we fit them up, the boxes are sealed at the back. They can't go any further. They are just nesting in the box. So they can't get into your church tower at all. So no mess, and no mess on the outside either. No whitewash. Really clean bird. Will you be able to see the boxes from the outside of the building? Well, not really, no. We can colour them different colours to blend in more. I mean, this is a picture I'll just share with you here. This is zoomed in at around about 60 times. There you go. So I took a picture of the swift caller actually, which is a white box there. And when I have zoomed in, I can actually see the boxes. But when I stood down below, which is, I think this tower was about 15 metres high, I couldn't see the boxes at all. So they're not visible from the ground. But that picture gives you a really good demonstration of what the boxes look like. You can see the metal grids there, and you can see how we've aligned the box holes up with the metal grid holes. And that's your swift caller there, going off 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening to attract them in. That particular church had 12 boxes installed on 3 sides, so 4 boxes on 3 sides. And that's basically a very simple box design, that one, because the louvres were quite straightforward. So that just gives you an idea of what they look like from the outside. But like I say, that was zoomed in quite a way. Are swifts affected by general noise? So if they're up in a church belfry and the clock's going off or the bells are going off every hour, you'd think that they'd be moving out. It's really noisy up there, but they don't. They just become accustomed pretty quick. If you take the example of bats, for example, bats live in church towers, the bells are going off, bats don't all go rushing out at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon because the bells are going off. Everything becomes accustomed to it eventually, and swifts do soon settle down and just get on with their life. A big question is, do the nest boxes need cleaning out at the end of the summer? Do we need to go up there and maintain the boxes or clean them? The answer is no. It's not best practice to, and ill-advised to, because swifts use very minimal material anyway. There's not a lot to clean out. There's no mess because, like I say, they sort themselves out. And also, when we create these nest boxes, we fit them out with a swift nesting cup. So it's a piece of wood, a little bit bigger than a mobile phone, with a slight hollow in there, which we fill with soft downy feathers. And when we put these in the boxes and fit everything up, these swift nesting cups encourage the swifts to use the box. They think it's been used before, so they think it's a live colony, so that they use the boxes, these little swift cups, and they definitely don't need cleaning out or taking away. They can be used year on year. So once these boxes are up in the belfry, they're pretty much they're maintenance free, really. So there's a few questions answered there. Obviously you'll have some more questions which you can contact me directly on if you're thinking about this. And I'd just like to finish off really with a bit of a to-do list. So if you are interested in this, and this is really something you'd like to get involved with and help this declining species and help the RSPB and idverde, then contact us. There's our details. And you can either contact Nicola, who works with idverde Direct, or myself, who is the advisor for idverde RSPB. We will visit the belfry. You'll invite us, we'll meet someone there, we'll go up into the belfry, and we'll take pictures, measurements, and see if the belfry is viable for swifts. If you want to take it further after that and it is viable, then the church asks for permission. So they consult the PCC, and everyone has their say. And if you're all on board and want to do this, then it'll go to the archdeacon. The archdeacon will consult their colleagues. And at that point, they'll come back and say, yes, it falls within the regulations. We don't need to go any further. It's all fine. Or they might need some further information, so it might need to go to a faculty. And therefore, we can work with you to provide any further information or examples, or meet terms and conditions, or whatever is needed. And I think there is a cost with a faculty, but big point of this is we do have funding sources available. We can find funding for the boxes and maybe a faculty if needed. It's all part of a funding project we could put together for the church. And just a little bit on that as well, the cost of boxes are around about £20 each. Different boxes, custom made for different churches, might be a bit more, but the average box is about £20. And so 12 boxes in a church is about £240. And then you've got your Swift caller on there as well, which around about 60 to 70. The £300 will get you 12 Swift boxes. That's a ballpark figure. Like I say, depending on your church tower and the situation, it might cost more. But funding is available. That's something we can talk about. So once you get permission, RSPB and idverde construct the nest boxes through their network of volunteers. We put them together, custom built for the church windows, and then we come and fit them. The volunteers, idverde staff, myself, you can even get involved yourself in this if you want as well. So that's a great thing about this. You know, 3 or 4 people from the church can get involved. They can fit them. They can even help make the Swift boxes, and really importantly, they can help monitor the Swift boxes from below and see if Swifts are taking interest in them or even using them at the end of the day. So you can get involved in this as well. So that's a little to-do list. Contact us and ask for more questions. We'll give you the answers, hopefully. Before I go, one quick website I need you to point you in the direction of is Action for Swifts. This is a whole website just dedicated to Swift conservation. There is also the RSPB website as well, which gives you a bit more information, but Action for Swifts is brilliant. Please get in contact with us if you're happy to do this, and we'll come out and see the church and go from there. So my name's Ross. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you decide to take us on board with this journey to help Swifts. Thank you very much.